Travis Gillespie, and today we're going to talk about variability. Well, what is variability? Well, before we even get into it, let's talk about the last couple of videos we've been talking about measures of central tendency, and if this were a list of data, central tendency would talk about the values that really represent the core, the center, the middle, the average, the most common. Those are measures of central tendency, whereas variability represents values that are really, they spread across the set of data. It's really a spread of that set of data. So we're going to figure out our measures of variability here by finding the range, the first quartile, second quartile, and third quartile. Well, I've already pre-counted, and there is a list of 27 values here. So that means it's an odd amount. And if you want to find the median of that amount, you already know, since it's an odd amount, it's going to be one number in the middle. You don't have to do much more but find that middle number. So let's count 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and 13 should be right there. So that should make this value my middle number, and I should have 13 on the other side. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and yeah, 13. So I know that this value, 5, is going to be my median value. Well, when I talk about the median value of the entire list with variability, I'm really talking about the second quartile. Cool. So you know that, hey, that if there is a second quartile, there definitely has to be a first quartile. How do you find that? Not too tough to do, really. I'm going to change colors. The way you find the value of the second quartile is to take the median of the lower half, and I called this the third quartile. It's the first quartile. So you already know that whatever the median here of the lower half is going to be, it's going to be the first quartile. Which is also the first quartile, but let's find out what that is. And that's going to be somewhere in the middle. So 2, 4, 6. We already said there's 13 values here. So yes, it's an odd set. So 2, 4, 6 should be 12. So this should be my middle value. But let's see. 2, 4, and also 6. Yes, get 6 values on both sides. Oh, and my middle value here, the median, the first quartile is going to be 4. 4 is the first quartile. Well, if you have a first quartile and a second quartile, hey, there's going to be a third quartile. So, looking at my list here, I've got 13 here. I know there's a middle number, so just count 2, 4, 6, and hey, this is my 7th value, which means, let's count 2, 4, 6. Yep, 6 on both sides. This is my median of the upper half. And the median of the upper half is called the third quartile. Cool. All right, so now you've got your first, your second, and third quartile. Now I'm just going to cross out this 4 because I didn't label the 5 down here. I didn't label the 6 down here. But just know that 6 represents the third quartile, 5 represents the second quartile, and 4 represents the first quartile. Cool. Well, there are some other values I want to locate. The next value I want to locate is the range. I'm not going to do much more with the range, but I sure would like to know what it is. What's the difference of the entire spread? Well, it's real simple to do. You take 7 and subtract 2 from it. And this gives you the difference of the entire spread. The difference of the entire spread is 5. And let's go ahead and find the smallest, or let's call it the least value and the greatest value. Let's find the least. Well, the least value, it's real simple. It's the smallest number. And the greatest value is the largest number, which is pretty simple to find because it's going to be at the end of your list. You have 2 and 7, so that's why I subtracted 7 minus 2 for my range to get 5. So 5 is my range. And now what I want to do is go ahead and graph all of this information and create a box and whisker plot. Keep on there. Okay, and now I'm going to just create a number line just like usual. Cool. Get my little arrows going. Let's mark them a spot down in the middle. Cool. And then, in fact, instead of doing a dash, what I want to do, I'm going to get some other colors here. Let's do circles. I'm going to do 5 points. 1, and 2, 3, and 4, and 5. Now, for simplicity, I've created these dots. They're pretty evenly spread out, but this isn't necessarily the case. Depending on what the values are here and how close maybe this value is to this value in numerical terms, these dots might actually be closer to each other on a number line compared to these two dots. So keep that in mind when making your box and whisker plot. But these dots, these 5 dots, represent the 5 values that I've pulled from my list. So let's go ahead and mark them down as 5 and 6 and 7 and also 4 and 2. Cool. So from here I'm just going to scroll down the screen just a little bit and I can go ahead and label these values. Well, 2 was my lowest or my least value. I'm just going to put an LB right here. And the 4 was my first quartile. While the 5 was my second quartile. The 6 was the third quartile. And the 7 was the largest value. Or let's call it GV for greatest value. That G's not coming out the way I wanted. So we'll redo it real quick. There, that's a little bit better. Cool. So now from here, let's go ahead and make the box and whiskers. Well, it's pretty simple. I'm just going to do a dash here for the 5. That's my second quartile dash. And actually, in reality, the 5 and the 6 are a little bit closer, you notice, compared to the 5 and the 4. But in reality, they should be a little bit more even. And then when creating this graph, in reality, you'd want the 6 and 7 to be even with the distance from 6 to 5, the distance from 5 to 4 to be even with 6 to 5. However, 4 and 2 are further apart from each other, so on this number line, they should actually be further apart. And I'm not going to do it right now just for simplicity, but just know in the future that that's what you do want to do, is let it represent the numbers in reality, distance, or units away from each other. All right, now from here, what I want to do is create my whiskers. Well, a set of whiskers, move towards the 6, towards the 7 from the 6, and another pair of whiskers travel out to the 2 from the 4. So now my box and whisker plot is complete.